Hi, I'm Mike Bellevue, and as most of you know, I'm the black powder editor for Guns of the Old West magazine. And today we're out at the range with a reproduction of a Winchester Model 1887 lever-action shotgun. Now, this particular reproduction is made in China, and it's imported by Century International Arms. So let's take it out and see what it can do. Well, this Model 1887 shotgun is probably John Moses Browning's least favorite design that he did for Winchester. What he really wanted to do was a pump gun, which of course he did later as the 1893 and then the iconic Model 1897 pump. But at first he couldn't convince Winchester to go with the pump. T.G. Bennett, who was running Winchester, felt his brand identity was tied up with lever-action rifles, and he wanted a lever-action shotgun in the worst way, and he got one in the worst way. Though this was the first successful repeating shotgun ever made. The heart of the 1887 shotgun is a massive skeletonized rolling block. And as you can see, when the action is open, there's a heck of a lot of metal rolling around in here to make this thing function. I've got a lot of issues with the Model 1887. For one thing, its overall design is not very conducive to good wing shooting. It just doesn't balance that well, and I think it's kind of clunky. And that lever has an incredibly long throw, so it's not that fast a gun to operate. But beyond that, it loads right through the top of the receiver, which is awkward, to say the least. And the only way of unloading it is to just cycle every round through the action. It's not great. Also, the hammer spur is almost non-existent. So you really can't carry it in the game fields with a round in the chamber and the hammer on half cock. It really has to be carried with an empty chamber and then rack the lever when a bird goes up. So not a great hunting gun, and really that was the primary market for this when it came out. As you can see, it takes a really hard, well, it's a firm and very long lever throw. It's almost too long for my arm to get it all the way out there and jack it. And I've got 34-inch, I wear 34-inch sleeves, so I don't have short arms. This is kind of a beast to run. Now, a lot of people love them. I'm really not one of them, but they are different. They're fun. Well, despite the 1887 shortcomings, it was a 5-shot repeating shotgun. And that made it very popular with law enforcement. It was heavily used by Wells Fargo agents and also by some pretty famous lawmen. Jeff Milton used one of these in the famous Fairbanks, Arizona gunfight where he took out the Burt Alvord gang. So this gun definitely saw some use on the frontier in the hands of law enforcement. Well, Evil Roy is lurking downrange, and I've got the Model 1887 loaded up with 3 black powder rounds. And let's see if we can pepper old Roy. Well, that made a mess. Well, this copy of the 1887 is made in China at the Zhongzhou, and if I'm mispronouncing that, don't send me emails, Machine Works. As a lot of you are probably familiar, Norinco started making these. They were already making replicas of the Model 1897 pump-action shotgun. And cowboy action shooters wanted this 87, particularly a fellow by the alias of Coyote Cap, who's a very well-known shotgun gunsmith and cowboy action shooter. So they started to work with Norinco to develop the 1887. And a few of them made it into the States, and then the supply dried up. And the reason for that is because of the law of unintended consequences. Back in 1996, Australia enacted a series of very strict gun control laws. And one of the new laws that they passed, part of that regulation, is that automatic shotguns and pump-action shotguns became illegal for normal citizens to own. They can only be owned by certain classes of professional shooters, i.e. police or the army for the most part. And that, of course, posed a problem. But the framers of that law never thought about lever-action shotguns, which hadn't been made for almost 100 years. And consequently, they mentioned not repeating shotguns, but specifically automatics and pumps, which left the door open for levers to be unregulated. And Norinco found that they could sell every shotgun they made in Australia. So the supply in the States just plain dried up. So now there's another source, and they're coming in from Century Arms. And of course, the Italians, Chiappa, also got in the game. So we've got some choices now. These things are not really that convenient to load. You load them through the top of the receiver, and if you don't keep the shell kind of angled, you really can't get a good push on it. So you got to kind of get it in, get it going, and then push it home. And you got to get around these little lips to do it. And otherwise you drop it flat in. And then you close it up and you're good. Well, this is why there's no bad guy's view of the 1887 shotgun, because I really don't think that my camera would have survived that blast pattern.